Good morning. My name is Dwayne Meekins. I am the Esports Coordinator here at North Carolina A&T. I am here today with Dr. Elizabeth Hopfer, who is a professor in the Fashion Merchandising and Design program. She teaches FCS 483, which is
Apparel Product Development and Evaluation.
Apparel Product Development and Evaluation. And we had the opportunity this semester to work on what I think was a really cool and interesting project. We needed esports jerseys for our esports program, and I thought rather than have someone else make them, why not have fashion merchandising students do that? So I reached out to you, and you were receptive, but when I reached out, what were your initial thoughts on this collaboration?
My first initial thought was, A&T has esports. So that was the first thought that I had. Then I was, of course, very excited to know that the esports group knew we had a fashion merchandising and design program. We are sometimes a little difficult to find in the Department of Family and Consumer Sciences, but we have so much talent, so it was kind of a exciting thing to notice that we were noticed on campus.
So what did you see the opportunity being for your program?
It's a huge opportunity. Anytime you can have the students designing real product for real people, it takes learning out of the theoretical standpoint, textbook learning, and makes it far more applied. And I think for real life preparation, when the students are working in the fashion industry, they're designing for real people that are doing real things. And so I think this definitely gives an opportunity for students to really center user-focused design and gives them an applied learning experience.
What were the students' initial thoughts when you pitched this project to them?
Right. So I actually pitched the project on the very first day of class. The project was incorporated into the syllabus. And so I told the students what they were going to be doing. And there was a little bit of surprise because students definitely talk. So every single semester, they kind of know what to expect going into a class because they've heard prior students talking about it. So they thought that they were going to be doing one thing based on what they had previously heard. So it was surprising for them. But by the end of the class, they were all excited. And then when your team came on like the second or third day of class, they were completely sold then. So it took some of them a little bit more time to warm up because they were probably like me, not even realizing we had esports or what esports was. But then they all came around to it and were very excited.
Nice. So you kind of alluded to it, but how has this class differed from previous FCS 483 classes?
Yes, so 483 is a senior level course. It's always been considered our applied technical design course. So by the time students are enrolled, they've already taken foundation courses to learn about textiles and materials. They know how to sew, they know how to make patterns, they understand market research and market identification. They know how to do illustrations and graphic design using CAD technologies. And so this is an applied class and has always been designed as an applied class. But where this project has differed is that typically I will assign the students the responsibility of identifying on their own a target customer that they would like to create product for. They really don't have a lot of guidelines or standards that kind of, structure who they're designing for or what products they have to create. So this one has been much more, cohesive. We're all working on the same customer. We're working towards the same goal. But I think that's actually been an asset for us because we've been able to really focus our entire semester towards this applied esports jersey and lifestyle apparel project.
Once again, you're leading into my question, so that's awesome. Once they got into it, did they find the constraints of designing for the esports program, did they find that liberating or did they find it limiting?
Liberating or like, did it confine their design? So I actually think that, of course, they didn't have as much leeway in, designing formal wear or for children. They didn't have that, but they did have actually more leeway than I think many of them probably thought when they first got started with the project, because they were able to design not just a jersey, but also the apparel and even accessories that coordinated with it. So the fact that we were broad in allowing them to think about that whole gamer and their whole lifestyle made it feel very open and free, even though it was themed around Aggie Esports. And because they're students, they have a built-in obvious pride. You know, Aggie pride is real. And so that translated very well so that they were excited, and anything that they may have seen originally as limiting because of that theme, I think was quickly abandoned when they saw the opportunity to contribute to their school.
I love it. So once we started talking about the interdisciplinary aspects of gaming, you shared with me that you worked on a project in grad school where you had to share the properties of different kinds of fabrics with a game developer. Can you share a little more about that project?
Sure. I went to school, in graduate school, for technical design. I was at North Carolina State University. The Wilson College of Textiles is where I went for my graduate degrees, and I focused a lot on 3D body scanning. And in that realm, I was exposed to avatar development, which has a lot of overlap with gaming. I was not using avatars for gaming. I was using it for size and shape analysis. But it ended up that I was able to partner and collaborate with faculty members who were working to take those 3D avatars and make enhancements and apply it in the gaming environment. But one of the biggest challenges at that time, this was several years ago, one of the challenges at that time was rendering fabrics the correct way. So, a fabric, it's not just surface level appearances that you have to get right in a game. It's also all of the ways that it moves against the body. It kind of is independent of the body in some ways, but it is also connected to the body in others. And different fabrics behave differently when you're running, when you're sitting, when you're moving. And so getting that accurate fabric rendering was a challenge at the time for a lot of the gaming industry. And so we actually did some work at the College of Textiles where we took real textile technical properties of fabrics and gave that information to game designers so that they could incorporate it into more realistic looking fabrics for their gamers. So it was a more immersive experience.
So we've also spoken about fashion in video games, whether it's The Sims or NBA 2K or Hogwarts Legacy, the Harry Potter game. How do you see fashion being included in video games, and where do you think the opportunities lie for your students in the gaming space?
I think the opportunities are huge, which is also why I think this partnership and collaboration, particularly for students that did not know anything about esports, was so valuable because they were not just exposed to the technical project, opportunity, but also to the field and the industry. When you think about gaming, obviously I just spoke about some of the technical things that they can use their knowledge for, whether it's, looking at how textiles are rendered in the game, but also garment silhouettes too. So the design of garments, when you're building out your characters, generally speaking, you have fashion choices. There may even be, much like with a movie, movies have costume designers. There's the same kind of thing with game design as well, where you have to create the look of not just the main characters, not just the person that you're going to be playing as, but also the whole environment. And so all of that is something that a student studying fashion merchandising and design could have great, opinions for and technical abilities to contribute to. And then beyond that, if you look at the retail landscape and how we market and sell and design products, these big games, or even some smaller, more niche games, the people who love to play those games, they don't just want to play it and look at the screen. They want to wear things, even in real life, that reflect that passion that they have. So our students can work for retailers that might be creating product in combination with some of those big brands or those big games. They can work in licensing, marketing, management, incorporating, figuring out, much like they were doing in this project, where are we putting the brand information for this game on this jersey or this jacket or this pair of pants? How big does it need to be? You know, that kind of thing. They have the opportunity, I think, to do almost anything, to apply what they've done in fashion merchandising, marketing, and design to gaming. It is interdisciplinary, very much so.
So there is a psychology to how we dress our characters
Right.
in game. What can you share a little bit more about that? We've spoken briefly about it.
Right. So one of the things that I think is important to know about this class and kind of the way we design apparel as well, I think a lot of times maybe people aren't aware of all of the thought that goes into designing a product. And so what we teach in our program is that when you're creating products, you're looking at the user first. So we do teach user-centered design in our program. And when you're trying to figure out what does the user want, usually what they want falls into one of three areas. So how do they want it to perform? That's like a functional ask. How do they want it to look, which is an aesthetic ask? And then how do they want it to make them feel? Or what do they want it to say? So like you said, we dress to say something a lot of times, in real life and in the games. And so we use this three-pronged approach to teach design. So it's functional, aesthetic, and expressive attributes that we're trying to engineer into products through our design and material choices. And so I think, you know, if you're looking at dressing in a game or even in real life, we're picking things that say something about us or convey some attitude or feeling that we want to portray about our character or about who we are as people. And that's expressive criteria. Do I want to show that I am a winner, that I am the strongest? That's going to have some implication from a design standpoint on the materials that I choose or the silhouettes that I choose or the things that I don't choose because it might be counter to what I'm trying to say.
This is the first time we've ever done something like this. So do you see other collaborations as a viable option? And can we do this again in the future and have the reveal be at your spring fashion show?
Yes, I would love to do this in the future. So we always really enjoy partnerships. Partnerships on campus especially allow students to see that they're not just studying a single field and that they can apply their knowledge in all different areas. And so I feel like this is a great testament to that. I definitely want to continue the partnership. I think it's a great chance for students to contribute to their school, the school that they chose to attend, and have lasting impact. We would, of course, love to see these products on the runway in the fashion show and also in the bookstore, on the gamers' families and friends. So I think the opportunities are endless. We're not going to stop. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity, and this was a really fulfilling and rewarding project for me, and I
us
hope it
too.
was for you.
It was 100%, and the students.